Konami Studios.
So, Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy, the first chapter has dropped on Netflix. It is Siege, and I'm pretty sure going off the toy line, the next one will be Earthrise, because great stuff happened in this show. I want to say this, I think this was a very enjoyable production of a Transformers story. It went in places I actually wasn't really expecting. Now, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like a prequel to the Transformers coming to Earth or how that's going to play out. My belief was it's the story about the war for Cybertron and how they need to get to Earth. So I really enjoyed myself watching this season. It is 6 episodes. They're like 24 minutes each. Easy to breeze by. It was really good stuff. Let's start with the animation. It was flawless. The colors were great. Just the black outline to like hyphenate where the Transformers were and the way they walked and moved. It looked incredible. The colors were really good too, because you see like the rust and the cracks and all the crevices on the bots themselves, and I thought that looked really nice. The animation style, I don't know what you would call that. It feels like a mix of that CGI with an anime style. It looked gorgeous. Every character looked unique and distinct, even if it was just like a color difference. You could tell who everyone was and the way everyone acted and the way they looked. It was so good. And that being said too, the characterization of every single character on this show was amazing, because everyone had a distinct personality. They all acted in the way they should. They all had different moments than what you would be expecting, because there was like some real genuine heartfelt moments in this show. And we'll get into it a little bit more here, but we're going to start with the idea of war on Cybertron. I don't read every Transformers comic book. I haven't seen every single cartoon. I've seen a lot of the animated show from like the 80s. I've seen the Michael Bay movies. You can see my Geek Wave episode talking about those. I'm not very inundated on what you would call the actual war for Cybertron. Like I didn't know a lot about it. It could have been something big, like a grand sweeping epic battle I wasn't aware of, because you get hints at it in the cartoon, but it's not done in like an emotionally gratifying. It's not done in a like emotionally satisfying way where there's gravitas and, you know, real stakes at play. It's a children's cartoon to sell toys, but this is done in a style where it's like it's almost a Shakespearean tragedy in the way it presents itself, because you got the two warring factions, the Decepticons and the Autobots. And I really like this angle about the show. It kind of blurs the line between what is right and what is wrong, because both of our lead characters of Megatron and Optimus Prime, who are the leads of their two different feuding factions, right? They are very similar in the ways they kind of approach this going to war. It's kind of like, what do we have to do to get peace, as opposed to what do we have to do to get freedom? Megatron is all about like, I want peace. We need like a united Cybertron to keep it together, even if that means somebody has to be in power. And Optimus Prime's like, we will not submit to whatever your idea of power is. Cybertron needs freedom and choice. And I thought that was a really cool angle to play, because then it just goes to the tragedy of like Megatron murders Alpha Trigon, and yeah, I think it's Alpha Trigon. Look, there's some really crazy names in this show. Megatron murders Alpha Trigon, and now it is up to Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus to kind of be like the figureheads of the Autobots. And that is some really cool stuff. Like, that alone is really great to see. It's kind of like the origin story of Optimus becoming this lead character and this hero. He was great. It was not Peter Cullen voicing him, but I can move past that because it was really well done. Really interesting stuff happening with Optimus in this show. And some of these characters, guys, some of the characters that we see in this, they have some really great story arcs. People like Wheeljack and Alita, and that, just seeing those was great. Ratchet, who is one of my favorite Transformers, his story was incredible, because there's a few characters in here who are very against the war, and they are very anti-Autobot or anti-Decepticon. They are very much just like, I'm trying to survive and I'm trying to help people. One of those is Ratchet. He is this he was this old engineer who's now like a doctor trying to stitch up the people who were hurt from the battle between the Decepticons and the Autobots, and he is working through himself. I'm not working for one specific group. If there's somebody who is hurt and needs my assistance, I'm going to help them. And somebody like Bumblebee, who has never been my favorite Transformer, but Bumblebee's story in here is great. He is young and angry, and he has so much angst in him. He doesn't really want to be a part of this entire fight, but it's kind of thrust upon him to choose a side, and when he does, you just see his arc is incredible, and seeing him was really cool. And the interplay between just the ideas of war. And you see the Jetfire and Starscream dynamic and how those two play off each other to divide power and what it means to be loyal to Megatron while still being a decent Autobot or a decent person. I thought that was incredible stuff to see. There was so much good in this show. Every character had their moment. There's even like zombies attacking. It's so fun. Like, if you are a fan of Transformers, you are definitely going to enjoy yourself while you watch this because it just takes so many interesting angles and it's very political. I was surprised how political this got because there's things like signing a treaty in order to maintain peace, but what does that mean for your freedom? Or like a prisoner of war and how execution of that kind of prisoner is like wrong in the terms of war, and you're not really showing like proper battle skills or just like honor and how what honor means to some of these people. And I mean, that's really great stuff to see. And we meet a character who I'm not sure if this character has existed before, but I love them. Their name is Sound Blaster. They are a clone of Soundwave. That's really cool. He's just like black and angry. Really great stuff. So many great stories in here. Like I said, Jetfire is great. Ratchet is great. Impactor has an incredible arc in this season. I thought that was amazing, just seeing what happens with that character. Really cool stuff. Mirage is so cool too. Everyone is just doing great, and the voices work for the most part. And with that animation, guys, holy cow, it just looks incredible, especially if you have like a really nice 4K television and you're just seeing the amazement that comes off of that. It looks gorgeous and everything works perfectly. It's a breezy 6 episodes. I watched it all in one sitting and I did not get bored once because all the characters, they are really interesting to see. And if you are like me and you were collecting the toy line before you went into watching this, it's gonna add to your enjoyment because I'm like, hey, that looks just like Cog. Oh, I have that Cog. That's great. That looks just like Hound. I have that Hound. That's awesome to see. That made it that much better for me just because I had those toys with me and I was able to see what those were. The show was great. The story was fantastic. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen in the next 2 chapters because it is a trilogy. Really great stuff. Optimus Prime and Megatron, great leaders with a similar arc but going about it in different ways. And how does that cross over? Really cool stuff. Every character works perfectly. The story, fantastic. I cannot sing the praises of this show enough. It is well worth the watch, especially if you are a fan of Transformers. You are going to get a newfound appreciation for this series because it's for adults. This is not for kids. It's not that it's like hardcore, gratuitous violence and death, but it's just like the themes are so intense for kids. I do think that, and just because Optimus Prime isn't always the hero. I think that's a very fantastic angle to take and something very curious that I wasn't expecting from this show. So it's something to look out for. And like I said, easy breezy, a Netflix show that I actually enjoyed watching, so I highly recommend it to everyone out there who's looking to get their fill of a great Netflix show. So that is my review of Chapter 1 of Transformers War for Cybertron. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff. Be sure to check out my Geek Wave episode where I talk about the Michael Bay movies because that was a really fun one to do, and if you want to see me have a breakdown, that's where you should go. As always, I love you. I don't know I don't know why I said as always. I never really said to you guys I love you, but thanks for watching. Have fun, stay safe, good luck. Roll out.